Hey, it's Mike, and here we are at the beginning of Marriotts Way, and I'm in Norwich, just near what I know as the Halfords roundabout, which you can just see behind me. Now, Marriotts Way, if you're not aware, is an old disused railway track that runs between here and Aysham, and we can ride that off-road all the way between here and Aysham, but just with a few exceptions, and I'm going to talk about those in just a while. I'm using my gravel bike today. There's a reason for that. In fact, we don't actually need it between here and Drayton. Other than about 50 meters near the end, as we get towards Drayton, there is a bit of muddy track there, but the rest of it, until then, is paved. So along the route, we'll find old railway stations and platforms, we'll find some crossings, we'll find places to eat, and lots of other things. So let's get going. So here we are arriving in Drayton with a very useful map that explains exactly where we're at. Now please beware of this slope that goes down straight onto the main road. Unless you're very confident, I would suggest you use the left hand, less steep slope. So now we're at the bottom of the slope. We've reached the slightly confusing part of the route. That's because you'll see from the picture here that the road opposite, named Station Road, is now a gravel surfaced road and privately owned. So yes, we could go up it. I don't recommend it. I do confess to occasionally coming back that way, but that's a different matter for another time. But what we're going to do is follow the signposts that direct us up the slight incline to the centre of Drayton. And a good reason for doing that, if you fancy a quick pit stop, something to quickly drink, eat or whatever, then there's cafes, there's a Subway that's in the garage, there's a pizza place or whatever else you might fancy. So this satellite image of Drayton hopefully explains things a bit better. You can see where we are at the bottom there with Station Road right ahead of us. Then in the middle arrow you can see the official restart of Marriotts Way, and then the top arrow is what I would consider the restart proper of the original Marriotts Way. So here we are the other side of Fakenham Road, and in my opinion here's where the real Marriotts Way cycle adventure begins, because up until now we've been cycling mostly on tarmac, but from now on it's going to be mostly on hard packed mud. And now consider the picture I've just posted here, which is what it can be like after it's been raining a lot. So do consider the weather before you start making big plans to do Marriotts Way. Now, today it's dry, it's fantastic, let's get going. So here we are at the point where Marriotts Way crosses over the Norwich Northern Distributor route. There's the signpost, so Reepham is 7 miles from here, and indeed Norwich is 7 miles as well, so it's halfway between the two. Right, let's go. Now this is a bit confusing because we've arrived at Attlebridge Station, and indeed we are on Station Road, but we're presented with a gate right across the track. In fact, actually it's now a private residence, so what we're going to do is hop up the road. We're where the yellow arrow is at the moment. We're going to hop up the road about 50 metres and then rejoin Marriotts Way where the red arrow is. So as we approach Porter's Lane in Lenwade, behind the high fences on the left are the telltale signs of what was Lenwade Station. So here we are, arriving at Whitwell and Reepham Station. Now if you're paying attention earlier, you'll remember that there were two separate lines that were subsequently joined together that now make up what's Marriott's Way. So that is why there are two stations in Reepham. Now I'm sure if you studied the map at all, you'll have seen that there's a little shortcut you can take now that cuts out the curve and takes you straight through town and to the other station. But on the other hand, it is quite exciting to go around the curve. It doesn't take as long as you think it's going to take. And also there's the Junction 21 tea room that's there as well. It's not always open, so don't bank on it, but it's a great place to go if you just want a cup of tea and a piece of cake. In the meantime, here's a good place to stop and eat as well, and you can also do some train spotting during your break. So we have arrived at Reepham Station, and to be honest, out of all the places to eat, this is probably my favourite. The look of the jacket potato, I feel hungry already. Now this is one of those places where you need to stop and think just for a second, but it isn't really that difficult. We are where the red arrow is currently pointing. We need to just cross the road. There's a little dirt track that cuts through the foresty bit, come out the other side where the yellow arrow is, so we cross the road and then back onto Marriotts Way. Hey, we did it. I hope you found the video useful, and maybe I'll see you on Marriotts Way sometime. If you really enjoyed it, then please give me a like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below. Thanks. Bye-bye.